Okay, so I've pulled the roof off the fine fish van. We're going to keep that to one side just so we don't get anything on it. We're going to weather that one up later. Remove the wheels as well, and so when we go to use our template on those, you can see that's just going to pop straight into that little hole, and then we're going to be able to spray up against that. And what we'll end up with is this instead. So you'll end up with the grime on the wheel, but you also, I hope you can see that, you won't end up with it on the surface that it's going to hit the tracks with. So we don't want to contaminate anything there, put any paint where it really shouldn't be. So we'll do that one shortly. So this side I've left clean for now. So I'll show you what we're going to do when we spray all the grime up under here. But on the other side, I've already done it. This is what we're looking for. So to do that, to get that effect, we're going to take some lacquer thinners and some black paint and some dark brown paint preferably, but we're having to make do with a bit of sand today, a bit of dark yellow. So generally, roughly around 50% lacquer thinners, 25 each of these will give us a nice little mixture. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of that into the cup. Give it a quick stir. You can pre-mix this instead, so you don't have to do it in the cup every time. Especially if it's something you're going to use a lot of, you can get a spare jar and just keep yourself a grime mixture. If you have to make it up each time, really doesn't matter. I mean, no two pieces of rolling stock are really ever going to weather the same way. They're never kept in the same yards or travel the same routes every single time anyway. So what we're looking for there is just the consistency of milk, or even maybe a little bit thinner on that one. We're going to spray it at a low pressure. So we're going to come down, I'll check the pressure in a minute, but hopefully somewhere around 15 to 20 psi on this one. So we'll do a little test shot first just to see how she's coming out. Starting to mix together now. That's good. That pressure's a little bit high. We'll knock them back a bit. Too much. Okay, so all we want to do, we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to come up underneath here, and we're just going to lightly spray that around all the different surfaces. Now I gave this a bit of a go over yesterday, so this is a second coat of grime that it's actually getting, which is actually good because it's just giving it a bit of variation, which won't hurt at all. Okay, we're going to get all those couplings, and then we're going to come across this portion here of the running gear, and we're just lightly spraying that on. So you're just trying to build it up gradually. You don't want to flood anything. You can always come back and put a second or even third go over it if you need to, rather than have the paint blasting on. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come up the sides just a little bit, because it's pretty hard at the moment to see that grimy colour while it's wet against that black. But on the blue, and I'm just doing that lightly, and I'm just varying it, so I'm not ending up with a straight line. I'm just trying to, bring it slightly up on maybe the edge of the doors there, up the centre of the door, just a fraction. And we'll do a little bit around these corners. Okay. Now it's important too, I think anyway, to get some of this grime colour down into that bottom lip that's there. Because, as we know, dirt will settle down into those ridges. So that's what we want to go for. So I'm just going to bring the brush right up here now, and just ever so lightly just come in there. Doesn't matter if you can't get into it, because hopefully our oil paints will help us there later on as well. Now we're also going to do across the ends here, all those black surfaces, and we're going to bring that up the sides just a little bit, because those ends, they could get quite dirty on a lot of rolling stock. And you can see, here's one we prepared earlier, and that's had a bit of a lick of oil paint over it as well. But that's the effect that we're going to go for later on. But just to show you basically how you do it, really low. Now that PSI is sitting down there around 15 for this particular jobby that we're doing today. So just to tie that in for consistency, I'll just go over what I did yesterday around the bottom there, just so one side doesn't look different to the other. And that's that part of it done. Now, these wheels I did yesterday as well, just so I could speed things up a little bit today. So there's one left to do. Pretty self-explanatory, but what we're going to do is pop him up through there like that. Hold him tight. Like that. We're going to come in with our brush, airbrush, and we're just going to give that a light going over of the same grime. Might take a couple of goes of the same grime that we've hit the rest of the body with as well. Okay, and that's all there is to that. You can either remove the wheels. If you don't want to remove the wheels, you want to leave them on. Just make sure you've got a bit of track, or maybe just even on this paper will be fine. As you're spraying, roll it, because you don't want to have the wheel sit there and then miss a spot. So you want to make sure you cover every part of the wheel. So that's that first step done. A lot of people will just leave it there, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But I think we can do a little bit more to this just to bring the detail out in this whole little van. All right, back in a sec.